Hello everyone, welcome to DXP Deconstructed. I am Prateek Jain and I will be your host today. In this show, we are going to deconstruct solutions, architectures, tools, and technologies required to build scalable digital experience platforms. In today's episode, we are going to talk about state of Mautic. Mautic is the world's first marketing automation platform. And to talk more about it, we have Ruth Cheesley with me as a guest. Ruth is the open source project lead for Mautic and has been in the ecosystem for about 18 plus years, working in various open source technologies like Joomla before joining Mautic. Ruth also built and ran her own full digital service agency in the past. Let's hear it from her. Welcome to the show, Ruth.
Hello, welcome. Thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you, Ruth. Thanks for joining. And I'm really excited to have you here on the show and then continue talking about what we started in London a couple of weeks back and joining and learning more about the Mautic. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, cool. Let's get started. So you have worked with 18 plus years in the open source community, right? I mean, working with various different technologies, right? Like Joomla and now Mautic. Can you share a bit about your journey, a bit about your open source journey specifically?
Sure. I mean, I came across open source as a broke student needing stuff for my laptop that I couldn't afford to buy. And I was mainly a user of open source software at that time. And in one of my first jobs, I was an IT technician and was asked to rebuild a website that was done in front page from probably 1995 or something. It was a very, very old website. And the list of things that they wanted on the website was just like growing and growing and growing. And I thought there must be something out there that I can use that already does some of the things, that they're asking. So I don't have to write it all myself. And I had no idea what I was looking for at that time. It makes me laugh to think of what I was trying out. But I came across content management systems. And I came across a couple of different ones, and Joomla was the one that I found the most easy to work with most welcoming community at that time. And so I started building websites with that, initially for my work, but then also for myself. And then I started a business building websites for other people, which was a long, long time ago. And that scaled from just me in my spare time doing stuff to get a few more quid to pay the student loans off to growing an agency that employed 10 people and what have you. So yeah, it's been quite the journey. And I came across Mautic because the founder was on the Joomla leadership team. So we were both on the leadership team at the same time. And he told me about what he was working on, and it fit really well for the clients that I was already servicing, who already had websites. They were already taking those steps towards digital, to actually provide them with a marketing platform like Mautic as well. So I was one of the first contributors in terms of the community and helping with feedback and documentation and things like that.
Awesome. That's so good to hear, right? I mean, started with as a taker of the open source code and the technology, and now to the maker's role, right, where you are able to contribute and give it back to the community, right? That's so inspiring to know, and like how your journey started, and now that way that you are contributing to the Mautic ecosystem. So with that, right, what does Mautic mean to you personally, Mautic and the Mautic community, right? And what motivated you to become the Mautic community leader?
So what does it mean to me? I think I saw so much potential in the vision of Mautic, because at the time I had myself in my business, and my clients were also having this, that you start out with some of the proprietary tools, right? And they get to a certain point and then it just becomes cost prohibitive to use them, particularly if you're a small business. Which is really unfortunate, because it could really help take your business to the next step. But if you don't have the capital to actually access that, then it means in a way you can't maximize your business. And so when I heard about what Mautic was offering and the fact that you could self-host, of course there's cost to that, it's not free, so you do have to stand up your own infrastructure and know what to do with it and what have you, so that does come at a cost. I was just really inspired by that, by the potential that gives people all over the world, organizations, businesses, whatever, to really do best practices with their marketing and really benefit from that. And the second part of that question was what inspired me to step up. Yeah, so I think part of it was just timing. I had finished a contract and I had time because I was looking for my next role. So I started giving my time to the Mautic community because I liked the project and the community. And at that time, it was just before the acquisition was announced. And when the acquisition was announced, it was a real turbulent time in the community. And there was a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. A lot of people were worried that the project was going to be closed down and what have you. And I kind of saw an opportunity there, really. Well, it was presented to me as an opportunity to actually help the project grow and thrive and find a way forwards in that setting where they were sort of owned in a way by Acquia. And the opportunity was there for a role that Acquia was supporting. So why not? I mean, that community has been a thread through the whole of my life. So it was definitely a great opportunity for me.
Absolutely. And I think just like every other open source software, right? I mean, community is the key to
Oh, yeah.
run and build these softwares, right? And you also mentioned Acquia, right? I believe Mautic first started or was launched probably sometime in 2014 and then got acquired by Acquia in 2019 sometime. And now that it's back again as an independent Mautic open source project, right? Through this journey, how do you see Mautic has evolved over the period of the time? And now that it's no longer part of the Acquia, is it really a good thing for the Mautic project or no? Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, even before the acquisition, there was Mautic Inc., which is what was acquired, the company that provided the SaaS solution, right? And so at that time, a lot of the open source version of Mautic was basically the engineers from Mautic Inc. making those releases in the community, right? So it's not like that changed when Acquia acquired them. There was still a company involved before Acquia acquired. And the difference, I think, is that at that point in 2019, there were some community contributors and there were some people who were helping to do the releases, for example. I think it was 2018, maybe, when we had our first release that was led by someone who wasn't working for Mautic Inc. But it wasn't clear how people could get involved. You had to really understand how open source works and just like put yourself out there to get involved. And so that meant that not many people did, and certainly not outside of GitHub. Yeah, it was very much there were meetups that people organized and things like that, which were also really, really popular, but it wasn't kind of structured. There wasn't really a governance model. So I think it nowadays, because we have that, it means that it's easier for people to see how they can give back to the open source project, especially if they're not a developer. But if they are a developer, we've got much more guidance and documentation now on how to actually do that and more opportunities. So we do Open Source Friday sprints every week where we've got mentors available to help people get started. We've got onboarding processes. So yeah, I feel like in terms of shifting from Acquia to an independent open source project, I think it's a great opportunity for the open source project. I know that there are some contributors who would not contribute before because of the fact that there was that dominance from Acquia, even whether that was real or perceived. They just felt like that wasn't something that they wanted to contribute towards. So we've already seen an upsurge in those people getting involved. But also it's a level playing field now. Everyone has equal opportunity to have a say in the project. There isn't that kind of top down, even though it wasn't really like that. It's not like Acquia was forcing us to do things. Now it's much more open, and we're making a new governance model at the moment, which will really make it sort of community participatory. So I think from that perspective, it's great for the open source project to sort of take up their own reins and set their own destiny.
Oh, interesting. And so you are saying that, I mean, now that Mautic is not part of the Acquia, right? I mean, there are probably more people coming out and starting to contribute more towards the Mautic. I mean, sure, they were doing it before as well, but are you already seeing that trend? I mean, it's only been a 1 month since it was announced that Mautic will be an independent project, right?
Yeah, we're already seeing that. We're already seeing people who were objecting to it have been like, okay, now I want to find out how I can get involved. But I think it's been we are on a trajectory of growth, right? We are already seeing about 200 people coming into our community and being active, not necessarily contributing, but being active. and we're already seeing a growth in contributions every month. So whether it's because Acquia is not involved now, whether it's because we're already on that trajectory and people are just coming out of the woodwork because they can see how they can contribute, we've got very tangible things like that they can work on. I don't know. I wouldn't say like it's one or the other, but we're definitely seeing that growth, which is awesome. It's
Absolutely.
great to see the energy and the excitement.
Yeah. And we can feel it in the community as well, right? So for our audience, right, if you were to summarize how an individual or an organization can start contributing to the Mautic, let's say somebody is new to the marketing automation platforms and especially Mautic, right? How do they get started and start contributing to the Mautic community and why they should do that?
Yeah, so we've got a short link, which is mau.tc/contribute. And that goes straight to our community handbook. There's a section called Contributing to Mautic. And we've written out how to contribute with some of the key kind of types of personas that we see who want to give something back to Mautic. So it tells you about if you're a designer, if you're a marketer, if you're a writer or a technical writer, if you're a developer, it gives you like an onboarding process, like go here, do this. So first thing is to join our Slack instance, and we can put some links in the show notes, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the first thing is to join Slack, because that's where we have all of our teams and all of our real-time collaboration happens there. But the next thing is just figuring out what you actually want to contribute, because like I say, like an open source project has so many things that have to be done, and there's so many ways that you can help, that it's really good to sort of be very clear, like I love doing this thing, and that's what I want to help Mautic with. And then we can pair you up with a mentor who can help you get started with your first few tasks.
Got it. That's really insightful and gives a lot of ways to start contributing to the open source Mautic. So moving on, Ruth, right? How do you see Mautic compares with the other marketing automation platform exists out there, be it open source or proprietary, right? How do you see in terms of user friendliness and ease of use or anything else? Where does it stand?
I think if you'd have asked me that question 5 or 6 years ago, we were really ahead of the curve. But I think over the last, particularly 3 or 4 years, we've not been focusing so much on features. We've been focusing much more on the stability of the product, the streamlining the core, and really trying to get a stable product together. So I feel like we're a little bit behind the curve when you look at feature parity, when you look at the things that marketers really want in the software. But the plus side of open source is if it's not there already, you can write it. So we're seeing a big ecosystem growth of plugins around Mautic. But the work we are doing on streamlining the core and improving the quality is building really solid foundations so that over the next few years, we can really start to focus on the feature parity side of things. And actually, hopefully, my hope is that we start to have features in Mautic that marketers really want and that really delights them, that they don't find elsewhere. And that will help us to stand out in a way.
No, it makes sense, and I think in the past few years, how marketers use these marketing automation platforms, the way they use it, what they use it for, even things like AI, right? I mean, how do you see generative AI generating campaigns, maybe email templates, affecting? Does it affect the roadmap of how marketing automation would be seen going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that we don't we've actually got a keynote coming up at MautiCon about AI and marketing. So just a small plug in there for MautiCon next month.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I think it's something that we have to really take on board and consider. But I think for the core product itself, I don't know where we would actually bring that. And I think it would be more like if you want to use this kind of capacity in software, then you can do it through these plugins. But I'm not sure it would ship with core at this time, because it's. I just think that it would be something that would be something external, but it's definitely something that we're using all the time. I'm using all the time. I find it super helpful to just like throw something into the AI chat on Raycast and say, please translate this into Portuguese so I can reply to someone, or make this a little bit more friendly, or, things like that.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely, and yeah, and even I would love to see like automated campaigns getting generated,
yeah,
doing end-to-end campaigns right from the templates, building the user journeys,
yeah,
integrating with your platforms, and even right from end-to-end content and newsletters and whatnot, right? So really
absolutely.
exciting to see what everybody brings in and how innovation comes into it, right? And I think
Yeah.
Mautic now being fully open source, I'm pretty sure the speed of innovation and the integration with the various platforms like ChatGPT or others, right, would increase as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
all right, and I know, I mean, I don't want to steal what you were planning to say in the keynote at the Moticon in next couple of weeks. Just you may be answering this then as well, but then just in case, right? What are the new features or development that you look forward to from the Motic perspective? So what's exciting for you when you talk about the new features or developments?
Yeah, I mean, I think features are really exciting and everybody wants new features, right? But I think what people in Mautic really want is a stable Mautic that doesn't cause them problems when they update and doesn't and that is doing what it's supposed to do really extraordinarily well at really high scale as well as at small scale. And that's something that I think if we really get that right and make it really accessible and easy for people to get started and use Mautic, that for me is exciting because we'll see less people getting difficulties and we'll have more adoption. So I know it's boring for some people, but for me, like that's really core because I feel the pain that all that people have when they get stuck with these issues that
Right.
people have been having. So, but in terms of shiny stuff, I mean, I'm a magpie totally. I love new shiny stuff, and I get very excited by shiny stuff. Um, some of the stuff that we've got in progress in terms of we're already scoping are things like being able to organize all of the resources that you have in Mautic by a project. And so you could go into this project, we're calling them folders, find all of the campaigns, the resources, the segments, everything, the emails to do with that project and see rolled up reporting to see how all of
Okay.
those things are progressing. So that's one thing. We've
Mm-hmm.
got the wireframes designed for that. We're just scoping the development. And the other thing, a bit like what you were talking about, the end-to-end campaign creation, is about having the ability to import and export campaigns and having a campaign library within Mautic, which
Oh,
would be
nice.
kind of like best practice examples to help people really get started with using the double opt-in, the birthday campaigns, the abandoned cart campaigns, all of those kinds of things that lots of people need to do. They don't always do them well or know how to do them. They just know they have to do double opt-in and they start
Yeah.
Googling. So for us to be able to actually provide that library with all of the resources you need, which are templated, and you just then go in and configure it to your needs, would just be so good, I think, for marketers and also for agencies, because you could preload your own campaign library with your own resources that you give to your clients to help them get a jump start, you know? So I'm quite excited by that as well.
Yeah, that's good to know, and I'm sure all the marketers would love this shiny stuff, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and I think very similarly, right? I mean, recently we have been seeing a lot of needs where agencies are trying to build multi-client, multi-instance setups of Mautic, right? And these are large-scale setups where hundreds of
Mm.
instances, 300, 400, 500 of instances of Mautic are being spun up, all on the custom stack and solutions like that, right? And having that with the pre-rolled up templates. Analytics out there, right? I mean, could be game changer for the Mautic as well, and how agencies use Mautic as well. So,
Yeah.
and this is something that we are seeing at Axelerant. Are you seeing the similar need outside as well, where people are using Mautic in this fashion? We are having a multi-client, multi-instance setup.
Yeah, we do get that a lot. It's one of the questions that is very often referenced in the forum and discussed in the forum, is because also everybody has a different tech stack that they prefer, that they have people experienced with. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. Basically, that's not a one size fits all. And so yeah, it's very common. We've got some sessions on our YouTube channel actually from previous Multicons where people have talked about how they do it, and things to think about when you're setting up multi-tenancy. So definitely it's something I'd like us to get written up in more detail on our knowledge base, just to give people, like, if you're Kubernetes, here's how you could do it with Kubernetes, and if you're using some other tool, then here's how you could do it with that tool, just to give people a bit more guidance, you know, on how they could do things.
Got it. No, makes sense. Makes sense. Uh, So moving on, Ruth. So in your opinion, what is the most significant challenge that Mautic and the Mautic community is facing today, and how can community work to address those challenges?
I think any open source project will always say contributions and contributors. We are still quite dependent on a couple of large agencies who rely on Mautic, and therefore they give their staff time to support the project, and they are very good at contributing back bug fixes that they've made or features that they've made. But that leaves you quite vulnerable, because if those companies reduce their contributions, then as a project you're going to suffer. So very much one of my priorities is widening that base, like making sure that we actually are depending on lots of people from different companies from all over the world who are contributing, rather than just a few. And we're getting there. We're doing really well, but there's other, particularly in areas like marketing. Like everyone who uses Mautic is a marketer of some way,
Right.
of some shape and form, probably. That's a great way to help us with Mautic, but we have very few people who actually step up and help us as marketers, and likewise writing really good tutorials on how to do things with Mautic. And those two things really help the growth of the project. But also, practically speaking, now that Acquia is not going to be supporting they are going to be supporting the project, but they're not actually employing me full time and what have you, then obviously the financial stability of the project is the next thing. That's the next thing that we're looking at in terms of developing sponsorships, and encouraging people to become a member where they're supporting Mautic financially each year, which is part of our governance model proposal. So we've got plans for that, but that's definitely another challenge.
And I'm sure initiatives like the Friday code contribution day or the contribution day is going to help out with some of these, right? And then more organizations would come in front to start contributing towards the Mautic.
Yeah, and that also develops that sense of community, like of sharing, of working together, learning from each other, which is so important. Like building those friendships between people who give time to open source is so important.
Yep. So my next question, you may have answered it in some form already, right? I mean, when you said that, so Mautic is falling behind by 3-4 years, and when you compare with the other marketing automation platforms that is out there, right? And we also have traditionally seen more adoption from small and medium businesses when it comes to Mautic. Do you foresee Mautic expanding its reach to, let's say, mid-market or enterprise clients going forward, or how soon that can happen, or is it already happening?
I mean, it depends what you're talking about when you're talking about using Mautic, because certainly with some of the SaaS provisions that people are working with, some of the agencies in the community are already working at very high scale at enterprise level, with a solution which is underpinned by Mautic. Mautic's providing the marketing automation. So they're already doing that. I feel like you said, the small and medium size is where we get the most interest. I think the mid-market is definitely a place where we can focus a lot more, and that's a place where we can have a lot more growth, I feel, particularly as those mid-sized businesses who adopted Mautic right at the start are starting to scale and they're coming up into that area. We need to make sure that they can stay with Mautic, that it's an option for them to stay with Mautic. And a lot of the work we're doing in terms of improving core and stability and streamlining things will actually help with the performance and scalability as well.
Absolutely. I think we have been seeing use cases where people want to send like maybe 30 million emails in a day, and thousands of newsletters, or thousands of agencies sending out newsletters, right? I mean, with the help of Mautic, and I'm so really excited about what Mautic has in store to support this going forward, right? With the SaaS solution as well as with the open source Kubernetes setup, multi-instance setups that can help with that. Next, Ruth, what advice would you give to the agencies or the organizations who are planning to implement Mautic for their marketing automation or marketing strategy? What advice would you give to them?
In terms of the practical implementation, I would say use the community knowledge base, the community forums, if you have any questions on how to do things with best practice, because our community, we really do have a culture of supporting each other to grow and succeed with Mautic. So if you don't feel like you have to do that by yourself, if you are actually the person implementing it and you're not going with a SaaS provider, there's lots of people who are willing to share their knowledge and help you get that up and running. Practically speaking, I would say, yeah, be involved with the community, whether it's like giving someone in your team like a couple of hours on a Friday or whatever to help us with writing the newsletter or something, because it brings you closer to what's happening in the community. You have a say in what's happening, so that can actually inform your business. But also
Right.
it gives you inspiration and ideas for how you can really like grow the way that you're using Mautic
Yeah.
when you start adopting it. So I see lots of people who start by just doing emails and then they want to sort of grow. And sometimes you don't know the potential until you see other people talking and doing it. And that gives you that spark of idea for how that could help. So definitely sort of bring yourself into the community at your earliest opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can personally vouch for that. I mean, I've seen so many great examples in the Mautic Slack when I'm stuck with something or looking for ideas or just randomly finding out, hey, this is how they are using Mautic as well, right? So definitely being involved in the Mautic has helped me understand Mautic a little bit more and build better solutions for our customers as well.
Yeah.
All right, that's good to know. So so coming to the Mauticon, right? I mean, I know it's a big event coming up. I'm sure you must be stressed as well as equally excited for this upcoming Mauticon on 21st and 22nd of June, right? And everyone watching this show, right? Please register for this event. It's an amazing event where a lot of great session lineup is there. A lot of amazing speakers from the community is going to be there, right? So my question to you, Ruth, right? When can we expect the next in-person Mauticon?
Great question. So usually the way it works in the Mautic community is our world conference, which is we call Mautic Conference Global. That happens online, and that's generally speaking in the summer, so in June. And then we have an in-person conference, which is generally speaking in November. So it usually will be, I think it's usually been in the first couple of weeks of November. And we try to rotate continents every year so that we give different communities an opportunity to actually host our main in-person event. And also means that people in that country can actually get to an in-person Mautic event, whereas they may not be able to afford to fly to the US or Europe if it's, there, for example, every time. So we're open for nominations right now as to where we will go next year, this year in November. So I don't
Okay.
know where or when it will be, but it will be in November. So maybe you guys could
Awesome.
host it at Axelerant.
Absolutely. I mean,
Maybe.
we would love to do that, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. So
Yeah.
finally, right? I mean, I think we are approaching to the closure of the last segment of the show, right? I mean, so what message would you like to give to the Mautic community in general? What's the last message that you would like to give today?
I think I would just want to say that there is so much potential, and I'm so excited about what's ahead of us in the future. And it's great to actually have an open source product like Mautic, but its future is not guaranteed if people don't actually step up now and help support us going forwards. So I would kind of say if you love Mautic and you're using Mautic and you really benefit from it, then please do make sure that it continues to be available by supporting us in whatever way is possible. Like it might not be possible for you to financially support us, but maybe you could give us a couple of hours to proofread the newsletter or to help us with editing some content or reviewing a page on the website. Whatever it is, it will help us to make sure that Mautic is sustainable and that it's still here in 10 years' time, because I feel like that's so important that we are here because it's such an amazing project and an amazing community. So there's so much
Right.
exciting stuff coming. Be a part of it.
Absolutely. This is fantastic, Ruth. I mean, there's so much insights and knowledge that you have shared about Mautic community and marketing automation in general, right? I'm even more excited about Mautic's future, especially the contribution side of it and the upcoming Mauticon as well. So thank you for joining in, Ruth. I mean, it was really great to have you. And thank you for sharing your insights.
You're most welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching this show. We will come back in the next episode with another DXP story. Till then, signing off. Thank you for joining in.